Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. This poor man from our first story is going to struggle to put food on the table because our OP didn't perform the sacred fruit-bearing dance around the trees at every month at the full moon. You'll see what I mean after a short pause. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Get mad when my apple tree doesn't produce enough apples? Get ready to be big mad. In 2018, my husband and I bought my parents' house as our first home. Our very large yard came with 2 mature producing apple trees and 1 crabapple tree. Since my parents moved in 2006, an older gentleman has come by and picked the apples out of their tree to use as deer feed during hunting season. She told me as such and said he usually stopped by late summer to re-get permission for the year and check on the harvest. 2018 and 2019 was great. He picked the apples on the tree and on the ground in a few hours and away they'd go. 2020 rolls around, our trees produced 1 apple on one and no more than 2 dozen on the other. My next-door neighbors, good friends, asked to have what was up there to make some pies, so obviously I let them have them. Old dude rolls up in July on his John Deere lawn tractor and asks what happened to all of his apples. When I told him they just didn't produce this year, he went off. Went on about that's how he makes his fun money in the fall by selling jams, pies, etc. at local farmers markets, and it's my fault he lost his income and blah blah blah. When I mentioned I was told he used the apples for hunting, he spluttered some more, shook his fist, and drove off. So this spring, I cut down those effing apple trees. Sucks to suck, a-hole. And our second story. You said you wanted it now. For a short period of time, I worked at a betting shop as an assistant manager, pretty much a fancy way of saying we expect you to open and close the store with little benefits for it. Now, whilst the place at times got a little busy and customers would get a little heated if things didn't exactly go to plan, a bet didn't come through for them, machines not paying out, or simply not getting things on time for good or ill, for the most part, the customers were great. I could have a fun little chat with them between races and get to know a few tips for bets on the tracks, which was great as I knew nothing about gambling, aside from how to pay out odds, but then I always said 25 to 1 paid out 25 quid when it apparently pays out 26 because you have to count the wager. Things were going great. And then you get that guy. People who've worked in retail will know who I'm talking about, the one who demands you do things their way, who wants things now. He'd come in, place a bet on a race that was going on in a few seconds, and expect you to get it on every time just like that. And if he won, he'd expect you to have the money on hand waiting for him. This particular day, I was on my own in the store after my coworker went out for a quick bite to eat. And the guy, let's call him W, and I won't say why, I'll get banned, comes in, places a bet, and it pays out. IIRC around 180 quid. He walks over happy as Larry, almost slams the betting slip on the desk in front of me, and W's words were, with very little subtlety, "It's a winner. Pay me out. You've got the money." First thing, check the ticket, because you have to make sure, well, the results of the race aren't in the system yet. Me. "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have the results in. Can you give me about 5 minutes or so?" W. "What the F are you talking about? The results are in. Look at the screen." At this point, he walks over to the TV with it on, poking the horse that's won furiously. Part of me almost thinks the poor horse could feel it. "It's a winner. Now pay me." Me. "But sir, I can't. Until it's in the system, I can't verify it to make sure it's a winner, so I can't pay you." This seemed to abate him as he placed a bet on another horse. This one didn't win. In fact, it came in dead last, and came up with the original slip and asked me to check it again. "Check it. It's gone through." Sweet, I can pay him. I had about 300 quid in the till with another 20 in the safe and around 1,000 in what we call the insert, basically a safer safe on a timer. If you're reading this and thinking you've got enough to pay him, you're right, I did. The problem was it was all in change in the till and I couldn't get into the insert. Me. "It's a good winner you've got there, sir. I'll just..." Opening the till, though I know at best I have coins I can pay him in. "Oh, I don't have the notes for you." W. "What do you mean you don't have the notes? Your company name here, you've got all the money you could ever need." Me. If you're willing to wait another 5 minutes, I'm sure my colleague will be back and we can get notes out for you. W. What the heck are you talking about? I want paying now. I don't care how you pay me. At this point, I looked in the till, quickly counting up in my head if I could pay him. I had the money, just in pound coins and other assorted change. He's saying something about ringing up the customer complaints line at this point. I kind of zoned out whilst counting it up, but the rest of the store's looking over as W gets louder and more irate. Me. Fine, sir, just give me a couple minutes and I'll have your winnings for you. W. That's better, and be quick about it. The parking on my car is about to run out. I decided against quipping on the car parking and proceeded to get out coins, all the coins I could find, counting it out piece by piece, gold by gold, silver by silver, and I watched his face sink as he realized what he'd just done. I think at the end of it I gave him about 120 in 20s, 30 in 50s, and 30 in pound and 2-pound coins. W. What the hell you playing at? Me. You said you wanted it now. W. And it's all there? Can you check it again just to make sure? At this point, another customer walked up, and whilst I could have spent the next 10 minutes wasting his time by counting out every last little count, I decided on Plan B, or what I like to call Operation Calc You're Late. This immediately preceded by Operation Get Better Operation Names. I got a piece of notepad paper, one of those tiny flip book ones that journalists use, tore out a page, and gave him that and a pen. He slowly took them, giving me the evils as he did. Me. My apologies, but whilst I'd love to help you, I need to serve other customers. I gave him one of those cheesy grins like you see when you know you've won. He spent a good 2 minutes moving the coins to one of the side sections, then counting it all slower than I did and putting it all in a wallet that was way too small for what it was about to bear. He left after that, and my colleague returned with a smile on his face. C. How'd it go? Hold down the fort all right? Me. Yeah, but just to let you know, we might need more change. And our next story. It's Dollar General, not Gucci. So this just happened to me today. I'm getting into a new job to keep up with bills, hopefully. I was in my local Dollar General picking up some stuff for my lunches as I can get stuff here and it's close to my house, so it's a win-win for me. It's also in a small town, which is so small it may be 2 or 3 small streets and one main road. You can blink and you miss a type of town. I see this EM and her hellspawn EK come in, and they're dressed in what looks like some really expensive clothing, and I see she has a nice-looking designer purse. I didn't recognize the symbol, so I'm not sure if it actually was designer or not. The kid's just screeching on about how he wants some new shirts he saw online that was from Gucci, and the mom keeps telling him to shut up, and she's going to get it for him. He just needs to wait until they find it. Weird, considering you're in a dollar store, but whatever. They go around the entire store and look through what clothing they have, which isn't much, but at least it's something. The entire time, the kid keeps screeching at the top of his lungs about this stupid shirt. I got up to the register area and was getting ready to start putting my stuff up so the cashier could ring me out when EM pushes past me and slams her hands down on the counter. She goes on to scream at the cashier for not having the item they're looking for. They better have it or else she's going to call corporate and complain directly to them. The cashier just kind of looks at her with a WTF kind of look, which makes her even more angry. She starts going on about how dare the store maker kid cry, which I laugh because he came in that way, and how they were ruining their mommy-son time, as she put it. The kid looked about 10 to 12, so I doubt he calls her mommy anymore, but who knows these days. EK runs over crying and is knocking stuff over, candy, lighters, anything up front. Basically, he can just tip over to show the cashier how upset he was. The cashier's trying to call her manager and get the situation taken care of because she's getting visibly upset, and I really felt bad for her. The manager comes out and tells her she has to leave, and she's clearly in the wrong kind of store for what she's looking for. EM screams at the manager, asking her, does she know who she is? She'll get her fired for throwing her out, etc., the usual EP kind of stuff. The manager threatens to call the police and press charges for trespassing and destruction of property. EM screams at her some more, then leaves, dragging her screaming hellspawn behind her as he's knocking more displays over. The manager comes around to clean stuff up, and being the nice person I am, I try to help because I felt bad for her. The manager thanked me and rang me out personally and gave me a small discount for helping. And our last story. I know the owner. I'm going to get you fired. I used to work overnight at a large motel as a night manager. One night, a number of years ago, there was a wedding reception. One of the guests came up to the desk early in the evening and bragged about knowing one of the owners of the motel. I listened politely, but really didn't care. At 2 in the morning, the reception was closed down. The guests went to their rooms, while those who didn't have rooms should have left the property. Less than a half hour later, I started getting noise complaints. It turns out that the same guest took a group back to his room to continue the party. I stood in the doorway and announced in a loud voice that the party was over. Everyone who's a registered guest needs to go to their rooms. Those who are not guests need to leave the property. You have 15 minutes to clear out, otherwise I'll call the police and evict everyone. If I do that, there will be no refunds. The guy from earlier came to the door and told me that he'd get me fired if I went through with what I said. My response? Then I'll be fired for doing my job. I ended up calling the police and clearing everyone out. Then I wrote a report on the incident, including the name of the guest. I sent copies to the front desk manager, the general manager, and to my boss. A few days later, I was told that the guest was banned from ever coming back to the motel again for any reason. He did indeed know one of the owners. When the owner found out what he attempted to do, he dropped the friendship immediately. Real friends treat your business with respect and happily pay the normal price to support your business. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.